Hello and welcome to this Sunday. It's almost past 10 o'clock right now, but I want to do this. I went for a walk earlier today and I tape recorded a little bit of that walk, about 28 minutes. I'll play it in a minute. 28 minutes, and interesting because I was talking about the Deuteronomy chapter 28. But basically, I want to give you a concept I want to share with you to understand, the reason for which we were created. For the book of Deuteronomy in Hebrew is Davarium, which means the words or the things. The words or the things are very synonymous. Hadabarim or Debarim, which means what Dabar is word, Debarim is words, plural. And in Greek is from the Greek we get Deuteronomy, which means twice the law, twice the nomos, or repetition of the law. So that's the meaning of that. But it says that that's the fifth book of the Torah. Okay, the first five books were the ones directly given from Hashem, from Elohim to Moses, and he wrote word for word. And then the fifth one, actually Moses wrote that one. It's like a summary of the other four, putting the most important things, but that's from the handwriting, and it's included in the Torah, but also inspired. Nonetheless, God approved of everything. Moses was so soaked in the whole thing that God has taught him, so he did that as a sermon, before God took him away, and then Joshua led them into the promised land. So I will be reading this first because I want you to get the concept. I'm introducing something called the Davarium. Okay, Davarium, like in the sense of an aquarium, is an environment in which you can see, like an aquarium, you can see fishes, you can see land and sand, you can see water flowing, you can see a whole environment for the procreation of fish, right? For the keeping the fish alive and well and thriving. So you had to create a whole environment. So when you create a fish and going to live for the create an environment for the fish to live in. The fish is not just the fish. Then you need the water, you need the sand, you need the landscape, you need everything to encapsulate the care of the fish alone. So the same is with mankind. When God created man for the procreation of mankind, He's into the production of mankind, the production and the propagation of His word that goes inside of man, who's made in His image to reveal Him. All right. So that's what you need to understand. So then the whole picture has to be given, what I call the Davarium. And everybody, you see when people create like any business or any apartment complex, everything, they create a scale model, and they put it in a little scale model, and they have all their investors look at it so they can see a small scale of what the finished product is going to be at the end. You see that in a lot of presentations where people are looking for investors. They present a scale model, the thing that they intend to create, whether it be, whether you're going to create something. I tend to think of it like the program Westworld. Let me see if I can get you the picture here of this for Westworld. I think I have a Westworld here. Yeah. See, this is the gallery. And here, one of the things they use like a dome. I was looking for something like that, and so they create a whole environment and a whole set, a whole model of that. And so, because they're going to create a series, right? And they're going to create all the things that they're going to put in it. And so there's a dome for this. This is like a planetarium, I guess, I suppose. But I was looking for the Westworld dome, and it came up with that. So I thought I'd just use this one. But this is an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is like a thing, an environment. So when you think of the Davarium, is you have to have an economy that is in your mind, an idea of what you want to do with it. Okay, the first economy that was given to us by our maker, it wasn't to know how to make apple trees or how to make papaya trees or anything like that. Those things were self-procreating. That was the resilient garden that God made, a garden that can self-procreate and self-regenerate, insects that can do the same. So we were not made here to make any insects or make anything, but just to learn the word that will enable us to present our maker in this environment this resilient garden, if you please. And but we opted to go backwards, you know. So God made us, you know, He created a whole Davarium, you know, a whole thing that is formed of complete and wholesome words that tell what the tree is and everything knows its place in this Davarium. And then all you did was there surrounded by those 300,000 edible plants that could feed you for your longevity, to just be surrounded, just to receive the 304,805 sequence of the Hebrew alphabet, which composed the whole Torah, and learn that, because once you learn the Torah, the 613 mitzvot is there that reveal how you get along and how you can create and deal with a whole nation. It's the caring of a whole nation that it teaches you, you know. And at the same time, while you're doing that, you bring into this environment the attitude and the mindset of your Maker. Okay, so you live and God lives with you, and we live with God. We live with our Maker, and you know we are the best agents by which He can reveal Himself through us. We were made with that capacity. All right, but we abandoned that and we settled for what I call a retarded garden, a garden of the man-made plants, you know, in which we had to build the plants from the ground up, and then we had to supply the products for whatever company that is, and the company depends on human power, manpower, to be able to run everything. So we take on the role of soil, of dust, because the soil is the one that has the function of creating, sustaining the trees, bringing them up to the ground, from the ground up, and supplying all the nutrients for the fruits in all the natural trees. So we inherit that, because these ideas, we on all the cities, you know, we're surrounded with products and services that depend on manpower to be made and to be kept running. All right, but that's a retarded garden, because these plants are not self-generating, self-regenerating, or self-duplicating. You know, they depend on us, and we think that we have advanced. You know, but this is all. You know, that's so. Just to give you a quick picture. So, the Davarium. So, I want you to get that idea that I'm going to give you a picture of what we need to have in our first economy. We were made for the revelation of personality, of the character and personality of God. That was it. We were not to create any products, you know, like in the way of plants. Those were already made. We were not going to make the heavens. Those were made. We were not going to make the ground. The ground was set up. We were not create the air. The air was there. Nothing. We didn't have to create the ambience, you know, like a air conditioning situation in which everything is a nice environment. Nothing like that. So none of those things were there. All we were there surrounded by a whole garden that was pristine and pure, you know, free of pollution, you know, to become what I call to do the procreation, you know, of ourselves and of all the species here. We will be what I call procreation. I thought of this term today, procreation, but procreationaires, you know, abound in creation. God made the creation and we procreate the creation. All right, so we just keep going what He had put in place. So we were supposed to be procreationaires. That's my term. But we became pollutionaires by not listening to the word. We polluted everything that God made. We turned the order upside down. We took the function of soil ourselves. We created retarded gardens that cannot duplicate themselves. And now all of that is explained very clearly, you know, in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit of that just to get started. Then I'm going to read some Psalms, and then I'm going to play the little walk that I had earlier today. But let me show you here from Deuteronomy, all right? All right, let me get out of the way here. Okay, so here, Deuteronomy chapter 28, you know, let me get here, chapter 28. Yeah, in chapter 28, that's the chapter of the blessings and the curses. The first 14 verses, I like that. 14 verses. Number 14 is the numerical value for David, and I keep saying that because today is the 14, and my name that was given to me in Guatemala when I was born. So I have my passport here. I don't have it here right now, but that's the only evidence I have of that is in my passport. That it shows that I'm Zacharias David Emmanuel Castro Stevenson. All right, that's all the names given to me. When I came to this country, I dropped the Stevenson and the David. I dropped David Stevenson and you kept Zacharias Emmanuel Castro. But David is my birth given name as well. And the numeric value of that is 14. In any case, in the first 14 verses of chapter 28, you know, but what is 28? Double of 14. I love chapter 28. What's one of my favorite chapters in the Bible, Deuteronomy, because it explains everything. Everything that's happening in the world right now is God doing it. And this whole chapter explains it. That's why you need not to be a reactionary to react to the circumstances. Because if you reacted to things, then you're giving credit not to God, but to the circumstances as if they run themselves by their own power. Or to the people that are in the different positions. Everybody that is in their place in this world, God knows exactly where they are, and it is God who is using them. And this chapter explains very clearly that He's either blessing you and keeping you alive and keeping you going, or if you have discarded His word and have disposed of this word and you don't guide your life by His word, then He's getting rid of you. He's destroying you. That's what He says here. He will explain that. So in the first 14 verses, that's what He's saying. I'm going to read a little the beginning. It says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all His commandments," here in the verse 1, "which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God." So it's conditional. The care of the Lord is conditional. He, like every owner, has to take care of his word, because his only word is the one that takes care of his Davarium, his economy, for whatever purpose he made something. So everybody that he hires for the purpose of that Davarium, those words, to live in that environment. Whatever that building or whatever that office may be. And if you do not line up with the manual of it, you're fired, you're taken out of it, because everything created by a creator is for the environment of the Davarium, or the words that go along with that product or service. Okay, so that's just a given. But this is what it's telling there. So let's go down to verse 14. At the end of that, it says here, "And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them." Okay, because when you work in the original economy, you're serving the creator. The whole environment of self-replicating, resilient plants are there, the insects are there and everything. So you're not adding any work of your hands that is needed. Everything is complete. Whenever we think we need to make out with something with our hands because there's something that is lacking, there's nothing wrong. You can make things. You can make games. You can cut part of trees. You can make whatever thing. You can imitate the thing in creation. You can make them, but you can never think of them as something that are needed, that you were missing in your life. You can become very industrious and make things out of your imagination, because you have the ability to replicate what you're looking at, which is nothing wrong with that. You can represent that talent of your creativity in you. But the moment you start thinking, I need to make this because there's something that's missing, and therefore I have to make it myself, or somebody has to make it, and I have to get it to complete myself, that's when you have made something and made it a god. So all in the industries of the world that are making products and services, and they're selling it to you because there's something that you're missing out in your life, they're selling you gods. They're taking the position of gods. If there's anything that you need to make yourself complete, that thing is a god. God hates idols. God hates anything that replaces him. That's why in the beginning there was nothing else. Okay? So we're surrounded. The idols that we make nowadays are moving idols. In the old days, they just used to cut a little piece of wood, put it with gold plated or silver plated, and then that was a god. But now we make cars that move, made out of metal. We make TVs that move, liquid plasma and everything. All these are still idols, because other people think, the moment you think that that's something that you're missing in life and you need it and you have to get it, that is an idol. That's replaced who God is. Because when you're maker, you're so complete that there's nothing else that you need. You understand? And so the moment you begin to think, and that's the problem with all these economies in the world, is that make you think that you're incomplete, and a certain product or service is going to make you complete. And that moment, they have introduced the product or service as an idol, because it's something that you're going to need, and you will replace. You become incomplete because you're convinced that this product is what is needed to be added to your life. See, and that's the thing that you need to understand. That's why God hates to be replaced by something that is even less than who he is. The resilient garden, bar none. There's nothing like the resilient garden, Monsanto is trying to mess with the resilient garden. It's trying to take away the seeds, so the products don't have any seeds, so they can control that market. But that's deficient plants already. So once God made the way He made things, you cannot improve on what God made. So whenever you want to make something that is less than Him, it's made in the retarded garden of the toxic products, the things that pollute the environment and the water, because that's what man-made plants do. And you want to make God think that that's something that you need. I mean, that's disgusting, unheard of. You know, and you want to present that idea to God. That's crazy. So yes, that's why it begins here in verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all His commandments and His statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city. That's verse 16. I'm going to point out. Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. I'm going to go down to verse 20. It says, verse 20, the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand to do for you to do, until thou be destroyed. So who's doing the destruction? Yeah, God is. See, it's not Bill Gates, it's not Dr. Fauci, it's none of these people, that we are told constantly that they're doing things to scare us and to say that no, it is God who uses. All these people are puppets in the hands of God. I'm telling you, because at the end of the day, the one you need to fear, because the one that's running everything is the Maker. It's none of these other little puppets that are in between, because you don't see Him. But He uses all these people. All dust is His creation. All right. But He uses it in balance, in contrast with how well you trust the Word to be in the original economy of just revealing His character and His nature, His mindset. If you think that there's nothing to it, that that's something that you does not need to be paid attention to, and you discard it and you dispose of it, then He disposes of you and He discards you. Because the whole environment, I understand, it's the whole environment, this whole the Davarium, this whole Davarium was made to sustain the character of God. In a self-replicating or resilient garden, in which you have to become and acquire that character for yourself. So you also have the ability to procreate, but create with the mindset that God has given you. So you don't come into this world, to ask of anything of this world to be given to you, but you come to this world having the character of God well understood, and looking up on the horizon and seeing all the areas where you can project this character as in you. Everything before you is just an area, it's just like a canvas where the whole character and mindset of your maker can be projected. That's all you look at. You look at the horizon to see all that God has shown you, where it will all expand. Because what you have to do, you have the creation and you are the procreator. You keep the creation going of what God put in you. Okay, so you're in this world to displace it well, like the sun that goes out. It doesn't go out to try to get any sun, any light from any region. It goes to provide light to every region and every corner that it goes to. I will read that about in Psalm 14, that gives you a picture of what David had. But this is the whole idea. Okay? So it says, verse 21, and says, and the Lord shall make the pestilence, cleaving, that's the pest, that's like a virus, like a pest, a pestilence, cleave unto thee, until He have consumed thee from off the land. God again is doing all of that. All right, so if vaccines or everything that are going to do away with you is happening, God is doing it. That's what you need to get in your mind. So you don't only need to fear God alone, because He's very insistent upon this. This whole Davarium, the word that He created, the environment that reflects His completeness, in the garden of resilience, everything is there to reflect Him. And so the plants are the ones that are kept once a catastrophe goes. Everything is wiped out. See this Mayan generations, all these generations, all this Mizraim, Egypt, and all the people are wiped out. And what is kept? The resilient garden is still there. The trees are still around. The monkeys are still around. The insects are still around, because they stay in the resilient mode of of functioning. Like the tub stands for a basket that collects, the house that's all glued up. So it's like your cells. Your cell contains the DNA that builds up your whole flesh. So that's tub. So all the words in the Brazilian garden, like the tree has that, the insects have that, the animals have that, and you have it too. But if your mindset is not in according to that, you are going to be wiped out because you do not belong to only this word that thinks that way and automatically allows you to behave that way is the one that belongs in this environment. So that's what it's all that is saying here. And that's what I want you to be getting into. So you don't be afraid of anybody but your maker. It's as simple as that. God sees, is there anybody that is in my garden, is in my creation, to be a procreator of it? And then he spares a whole nation just because of that. Just because there's a guy, like I'm going to show you in a little bit here where it says that. When God is getting ready to wipe out a whole bunch of people or a whole land and everything, he says, go ahead. If you find me one that is seeking for the truth, that means to seeking to understand what he was created for and to project that into the world, I will spare everything. He says that. As a matter of fact, let me go quickly to this in Jeremiah. We'll go to Jeremiah chapter 5. I'll show you this one right here. See, Jeremiah chapter 5. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to go the other way. That's chapter 3. Okay, yeah. No, let me go to chapter 4 and then chapter 5. Get myself out of the way here. All right. Chapter 4 here, and then chapter 5. Jeremiah chapter 5. It says, Run ye to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem, and see how and know, and see how, and see now and know, and seek in the broad places thereof, if you can find a man, like a one man, if there be any that execute a judgment, that seeketh the truth, and I will pardon it. So he was talking about the whole land. He will pardon the whole land if he found one that was with the mindset to live according, to the Torah, to the words that were given, to expand the understanding of the Maker, and to be in this world not seeking anything for himself, not thinking that there's anything that is needed to complete him. If he finds a partner or a wife, it's just for them both together as one unit, one flesh, to combine that, because that's when the procreation takes place, and that's the generation that creates the genesis, the beginning of his character, and everything goes with accordance. So God can use just one person that is in line with his word, and that joins with the right woman, to become that unit that he has created for that thing, not just only to be generated from his own flesh, but also to project it to his environment and to all those around him. And if he finds somebody in that mindset, he will spare the whole land. A lot of you are very reactionary. You react to circumstances and you make your decision based upon what the circumstances cause you to fear. No need to look at circumstances and be afraid of any of that. All it has to do is you have to ask yourself, am I thinking like Hashem? Because he's the one running this whole thing. The upkeep of a planet and the destruction of it is all in the hands of Hashem. It's all in the hands of the Maker. It's not like the devil is doing it. It's all in his hands. He approves what gets done, and he uses everything according to his plan. Because if this environment is not, when the destruction of the flood came, it's not the devil that caused the flood. God did it. And wiped out, billions. All right? While a whole bunch of billions. And I think it was close to $1 trillion if you ask me. I mean, I even did the math on that, but in any case, because if you get to live up to 900 years like the people used to do then, and every 40 years, let's say you only had 2 kids, this whole planet will be filled up with so much people, almost getting to the trillion. So when God wiped up a lot of people, if you do the math, I did the math. I sat a couple of weeks and did a whole math on that. There's no telling how many people, civilizations that were wiped out with that flood. So, but he did it. It's not like the devil did it. He said he was going to do that. He did it. Okay? But he saved 8. That's why 8 becomes the number of new beginnings. And so remember that. Those of you that were born in 1988 and stuff like that, or something like that, you mean that you're all for new beginnings. All right? So this is the generation in which God uses the 8 people that he saved, and we have what we have now, getting close to almost 8 billion now, right? And then because it's 7.7 billion, which 7 is the number of perfection right now, but and this is where the world is as it is right now. But you understand that this in Jeremiah tells you that if I want man that is in line with him, he will spare the whole nation that he's waiting to wipe out. So that's why you have to think. And all times you have to think, I'm here. God is here for the production of mankind and for the procreation of mankind because that's what he made for. And if you're thinking, the situation is so bad that that can happen, that's not the case. You see the animals, they're still procreating. You see the plants, they're still procreating. You see the bees, they're still procreating. It doesn't affect them, and it doesn't affect the man or woman of God that thinks accordingly. Because everything God gives to the care of, he does everything on the behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards them. He works mightily for them. And that I am convinced of. Because like I told you, I came to this nation because my parents forced me to come here. So when I became of age and of reason, I understood, what the Torah was. And that was a higher level of serving God than what the constitution of any nation was. So that's why I did not yield allegiance to any country. Once I became a reason, now I understand what the constitution, because I work for a company that I have to interpret the constitution. I have to give the citizenship test in Spanish. So I had to study those things. So I learned those things. But once I learned those things, I realized that the teachings of the Torah, the 613 mitzvot, and the attitude that you derive from getting the mindset of your maker puts you way higher than any constitution in the world, for the care of your fellow men and for the care of your environment. So that's my allegiance that I place to. That's where my heart is at. You see, so I don't place allegiance to any other place. So the only thing I have in any country is just a permanent residence. That's all I have here. And I'm happy to be there with that situation. Okay? But I know, what word I belong to. I know what's been my dwelling place is my dwelling place throughout all generations. And that's the Torah for me. Okay? Because that teaches me the mindset of my maker. And so that's what God is looking for. Looking for a man and a woman, the set as he created them, that are not reactionaries. They are not looking into the environment and say, oh no, things are getting so bad. You can do things. You can plan to go places. You can do anything you want to do as long as it's not because of fear or circumstances. As long as it's something that you plan to do, for the revelation of your maker, wherever he sends you. I know in my situation, I happen to be in a particular job that allows me to go to other countries. I could go to Costa Rica. I know people that are working in Costa Rica, the same job that I do from their homes. I can go to Panama, work there. I can go to Mexico, work there. I can go to England, work there. There's other nations that people can go, with this job that I have, that's the wonderful thing about my job. So I can move around, and everything that I do is only on the internet anyhow. So I don't need to have a studio and everything. I can do everything from my room. If I have to say something, share something, I can do it only, through the room. So I can go anywhere and do this. So, but if I move, it's not because I'm afraid of the circumstances. And right now, the pandemic is affecting the whole world right now. So no place is safe, because Hashem is everywhere. All right. So if Hashem wants to destroy you, he can destroy you here and destroy you over there. Anywhere he wants to destroy you. The thing is, our jobs is to have our minds line up with his mind. You understand? And once your heart is perfect, perfect means it's complete. It's like he is your other half and you're complete. And you realize that all the nations of the world are nothing but an aberration of that first economy. It was a corrupted file. The 613 laws are all that are needed. But if you go to work in the retarded garden, just the very building or wherever you're working, just to create those grounds, it's got codes and regulations that are more than 613. Every building in every economy has more than 613 codes and regulations. In order for you to legally run a business or legally be in a business, they have to follow all these things. So at the end of the day, there's thousands. Like for example, they allow the land. God gave us 10 commandments originally, but right now in the United States, about 17,000 pages of laws and regulations. In the law books, 17,000. 17,000 is the numerical value for tub for good. But in this, it's 17,000 pages, and we couldn't even find 10. So their laws are way more than 613 in order to run things smoothly, because this is a retarded garden, where everything needs manpower to be run. And who's supplying the manpower? The Creator who made man. But he's castigating, he's frustrating that man, that will walk away from him. He made him to become soil, because dust thou art, and to dust shalt thou return. And so he spent his years, and he feels treated like dirt, because that's part of the curse. You're treated like dirt because dust you are. Your function is to to do all of that. So in any case, so I thought I'd share this portion with you. Now I'm going to be getting more into this, but let me just go back to Deuteronomy here, uh, and share verse 28 because I'll expound more on this tomorrow. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of the share with you a little bit of the walk that I had earlier today, and the things that I was saying. Let me see in verse 28 here. I go. All right. Deuteronomy 28:28. This 27 here, 28 says, "The Lord shall smite thee." I mean, he's going to kill you, hit you with three things here. And this is what I call the MBAs, the Master's Business Administration. That's how people run their businesses, right? They get an MBA, Masters of Business Administration. And the people that are outside of the original economy in the world, they have a Torah that they run, teachings orderly regulating all humanity that they hire, T.O.R.A.H, Torah. That is very deficient. It's an aberration. It's a corruption of the original one. And it needs a lot of little rules, more than 613, to be able to run their societies because it's so weak. Everything needs manpower because everything is retarded. It cannot self-duplicate and all that. It's not the resilient garden. All right? So to these people, he says, but I call it this, says verse 28, "The Lord shall smite thee with madness," for the M, blindness for the B, and astonishment of heart for the A. All right? Madness, I mean crazy. You go crazy because you think backwards. You think that you're technological advance, being soil, behaving like soil instead of being a ruach, being a neshama, being a spirit that is catered with trees and everything like the resilient garden to take care of you. No, you go backwards and you call that an advancement. That's madness. That's craziness. And therefore you're blind. You don't know what you're doing. You say. That's why you don't know what to make of what's going on right now. You're completely blind. You're completely crazy, believing that the nations have something better to offer you than Hashem. And astonishment. I mean, you're scared. Completely confused and scared. Astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled everywhere, and no man shall save thee. Okay, that's the situation that we have right now. People are scared every day listening to all this rioting that's going on. All these people just acting crazy. People don't know what to make of it. They don't know. Some people still don't know if their work is going to be available. They haven't heard about it. I know some of you went back to work, but others haven't. But there's a lot of crazy things going on. But at the end of the day, the one that's doing everything is Hashem. You just got to make sure that you line up with Him. And you better be thinking, that like you better be thinking that you do things with His mindset. I have been the kind of a man that since I got my divorce, I have, because I believe in what it says in the Bible about, any man that lays with a woman that has not been betrothed, that woman becomes your wife. That's what it says in there. And I have always believed that. So, when I go out with somebody, it's never with the intention of a one night stand and that's it. I'm just going to score and have that. That's not it, because I know any woman that I lay with, God considers that woman my wife. I am responsible for that woman. All right. So that's why I never think in those situations, So from the very beginning, if I went over with women, it's because I am planning, and I made them aware that's my intention, because I have to walk with Hashem's mindset. All right. And if that person is not in line with those thoughts, it will be maybe 2 or 3 times that I will go with that person, and that's it. Because then I have to find somebody that is in that mindset. All right. But those are my intentions, and to me that's the best thing, because a lot of women that go out nowadays, they wonder what are the intentions of this guy. He really wants to be with me. But I'm the one that tells you from the very start that's how I do things. Okay, because the Bible does not allow me to have another way of thinking. That I'm just there to go with any lady. That's why even in the New Testament it says that in the last days men will be being in marriage and given into marriage. That's this whole idea of what we have in America. They call it consensual sex here, but to God it's just a whole bunch of people marrying. Every woman that you laid with, any man that's hearing me right now, any woman that you have ever laid with, those are all your wives. And you're going to have to answer to Hashem. Why you were not a responsible husband? Because, it's not the one that you just put your ring on that's your wife. No, every woman that you lay with, that's your wife. That's what the scripture says. So I'm not going to bend anything for anybody to make it comfortable. All right? So because the only woman I have ever lived with, that's the one that was my original wife, and I got divorced from that. That's the only one. All right? And prior to her, I married her as a virgin. And after her, has been no other one I live with. Because I have not had another wife, just that one. That's now my ex-wife. But that's because the Bible tells me that. So I'm not to go out with anybody just for the sake of scoring for one night. The Torah does not allow me to think that. So I don't think that. I don't give myself that, because that's to be sinful. All right? So God calls you to be very responsible. All right? So that's all part of the whole idea here. So even the woman has to be thinking, that you are here to procreate also. And in the mindset, especially if you find somebody with the mindset of the Torah already, then you find somebody that can, that you can do something, a real future with. What else are you going to be waiting for? The circumstances, we're not here for the world to serve us with better circumstances. We are here to serve the world with the mindset of Hashem. Those are the best circumstances that the world needs. So these are things for you to think along those lines, for you ladies to think, and for you men to think. Become more responsible, in the eyes of Hashem. And God is going to bless the nation if people create a responsibility. But these things that I'm telling you, I don't hear anybody preaching that. Preachers, nobody says those things. And therefore we have an abundance of iniquity all over the land. But this is how it has to be done. More respect everywhere. All right, so let me think. All right, let me show you here a little bit of what I did in my walk here. Let me see if I have this thing playing in the back here. Okay, I think I have it here. All right, so this is earlier today when I went out. So I'm going to play this with you. All right, let's see. Okay, play it on. So it's Sunday, about 4 o'clock right now in the afternoon. And it's June 14. 14 is the name, the miracle value of David, which happens to be my hidden name that I was given in Guatemala. But today, June, on the date of the miracle value of David, I'm going out for a little walk just for Superior Market. We're here in the back part of my house, a little garden that that's being kept here. And I'm walking outside, as you can see. I'm heading right now. And this one is a little like a vine, that I taken care of here. Look at the grapes here. They're gonna be big this year. Gonna have grapes all over the place. Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, you're looking good. Look at the grapes here. So it's a little thing. It was nothing on February. It was just a little stump. It was not gonna grow. It's a little thing like that is holding me, and it grew up in just from February until now. Look at, just gone all over the place now. I've been installing these little things here and there. Yeah. Look at that. So it has grapes all over the place. Only gave like about 5 of these last year, but this year I already had more than 20 all buried in there. And this is like one out on a tree, and this one was planted last night. My sister brought it here. There's another one up on a tree. Oh wow, look at this. The thing is, okay, I was trying to put this here so it will stay here, but I guess it moves with the wind. Alright, I'll try to see if I can be watching it from time to time. Yeah, alright. So I'm gonna go for a little walk right now, and I wanted to talk with, I meant to get back to you last week, but I've been watching the stuff that's being shared in the group there, and I've been, the different speakers that you guys have shared. I've been listening to them, and because before I say, as an interpreter, I've learned to listen twice before I speak. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. So the idea is to not just hear the sound of what people are saying, but what they're trying to say from the character. Because everybody's projecting something from the way that they are, all right, and why they're saying. So it's another thing you got to read what people are saying. Not just. Let me make sure. Okay, just making sure that it's recording. Not just that they're talking, but they're also communicating something. Not just the noise, but the signal. Okay, now we're in an age right now, where there's a lot of confusion in the air, especially because of what's going on. And you see that in a situation like this, if you don't have any guidelines as to what you should be looking for, because first of all, you have no idea why were you made for, what's the reason you were created. And most people lack that basic understanding. If you don't know why you were made and for what reason you were created, then you're just going to be in a daze of confusion on a daily basis. And it's not good to be confused like this. Not good against anybody's health. And that's the whole idea, to try to establish yourself with something that is solid. Okay? Something that can establish you in the long run. And so that's the main thing that I'm trying to look at for. Because I see that a lot of people right now is in a lot of confusion. They don't know what to make of it. And they're listening to the news, but still not. They know the news don't tell the truth. And everybody pretty much don't trust the media anymore. Whether you're a Republic or a Democrat, everybody's being left dazed and confused, And your parties, they only give you things from their point of view. All right. So the Republican will talk in favor of the Republicans, will be biased, and they'll give you their opinion, and so forth. So that's the whole idea. So you need to grab a hold of something that will establish you as to, and so that you know how to measure it, because it's in line with what the reason why you were created, And basically, I want to share a little verse that I have deciphered a long time ago, that gives you, okay. I don't know what's going on, but there's something wrong here with this. Hold on a second, let me see.